Thank you. As General mentioned before me, it's been more than a year that President Zelensky has been asking United States to allow him to use those long-range weapons, which were supposed to be used only within Ukraine, to be now used inside Russia. And now, what changed in last few days? The most visible change is, of course, Donald Trump winning 2024 presidential elections. And of course, he has a very clear view as to what he wants to do with the Ukraine war. Not only he, his party has constantly made life for President Joe Biden difficult in supporting Ukraine. You remember how his package was being withheld until that was combined with the Israel package for Israel. So, in that sense, in this stage of about 2 months left of his presidency, which often is referred as lame duck presidency, making such a decisive turn in policy is nothing but desperation to undercut what could become a decisive change in Ukraine war the moment Donald Trump takes over power. He's been saying he doesn't want to provide any military aid or any support to Ukraine. So this could change the way war is fought. It could potentially make some kind of ceasefire a possibility 2 months down the line. So I think fundamentally it's desperation on both sides, Russia and Ukraine, to try to capture, consolidate as much as possible. And of course, that kind of criticism has already come, not just Trump Jr., but Michael Waltz, the man who's nominated to be the national security advisor of President Trump, has told the Fox News yesterday that this is going to push Russia-Ukraine war into further escalation. In fact, he alluded to say maybe military-industrial complex wants to ensure that we move into World War III. So in that sense, there is a domestic criticism going on inside the United States. But I think what is interesting is that Russia has responded to the use of long-range missiles by Ukraine by testing its very interesting first intermediate hypersonic weapon, hypersonic missile, which has multiple warheads, multiple independently targeted warheads. At this stage, of course, only involving conventional warheads, but potentially it is as good for nuclear warheads. It's an unusual weapon, and as President Putin said in his speech yesterday to the nation, this is a missile that, as of now, has no counter weapon to intercept and kill it. Because of the speed between 5 to 10 Mach, which is about 3 kilometers every second. But more interesting, it can zigzag its trajectory from the launch pad to the target. So it's really a dangerous weapon. More important, in 2014, just like we are talking of doctrinal change this week, in 2014 also there was a change where hypersonic weapons were described as weapons of pre-nuclear deterrence weapon. So this is the stage before nuclear sort of onslaught could potentially happen. I assume that's not likely to happen because that would require NATO directly militarily intervening, because launch of long-range missiles by Ukraine already means that there's a certain indirect, coordination by the United States in terms of navigation and over-the-horizon targeting and so on. And to that, Russia has only responded by a hypersonic weapon with conventional weapons. So we assume that until and unless NATO directly militarily intervenes, to which he has already announced that he is thinking, and he called this as a test strike to look at the conditions of war. So he's indicating to other countries, obviously United Kingdom, which also has the Storm Shadow missile, which is about 250 kilometers range, compared to this one, which is right now tested about 900 kilometers range. So escalation definitely there. I think this, as the general said, might continue in coming weeks. But remember that Donald Trump is not waiting for 20th January to start his efforts to stop this war. He's already lining out his ways and outlining what he wants to do there. And I think that indication might have an impact earlier than that. What is important is to see how this brandishing of the threat by President Putin is already showing impact. There's a panic in Ukraine. Just now, United States, the world's supreme superpower, has closed down its embassy in Kiev. There's a panic buying in neighboring countries like Sweden, Norway, Finland, and so on. So brandishing itself is delivering in that sense as far as President Putin is concerned. So I assume that it's a calculated escalation, and therefore, since we are not expecting NATO to intervene directly, I don't see, as now one of the former generals, now envoy in UK from Ukraine, is saying we are moving into World War III, or we are already in World War III. I think that's a little exaggeration, and I'm not suspecting a nuclear war to happen any soon.
Okay, let me